Back in the early 2000s, Cartoon Network had just like a boatload of anime shows that would pop up. There would be so many anime shows, it's hard to keep track of a lot of them. And even trying to remember a lot of them is hard. Because a lot of the time, what they would do is they would have an anime come on, it would be on there for like 20 or 30 episodes and then it would just randomly disappear. I remember a lot of them doing that. And this happened from when I was like the age of like 5 up until I was about 19. Because I remember sometimes waking up in the middle of the night and there would just be like a random anime playing, or I would see like the end credits of an anime, and it would just be an anime where I had never seen it before, and it was always different. And three of them that I remember was Flames of Recca, I believe, was on there. Mar or Mare, whatever you want to call it, and Rave Master. Now, we're gonna start off with Flames of Recca. Flames of Recca, it was pretty obvious that this show was trying really hard to be Yu Yu Hakusho. Like, I mean, it's almost like the creators watched Yu Yu Hakusho or read the manga and was like, okay, I want to make my version of this, and he copied it. I mean, beat for beat, it's almost the same thing. That's kind of funny, but it's still enjoyable. And this is one thing I liked about the late 90s and early 2000s was a lot of mangas would just copy other mangas and make their own version. I personally like that a lot. I like when they do that shit because I like seeing, other people's version of, another person's work. So there was a lot of shows that used to do that back in the day, and there was a lot of shows that had a lot of clearly were inspired by other mangas and other anime shows. You could see the inspiration, and even though a lot of mangas were inspired by other ones, it didn't feel like they were generic. They always felt like they had their own, flavor to them, their own spice to them. Like Flames of Recca, it was obvious it was trying to be like Yu Yu Hakusho, but it didn't feel like just a straight up copy. But you could see that it was copying the story beats, if that made sense. It still had its own flavor to it, and I still enjoyed it, even though I still think Yu Yu Hakusho was way better. I still like it, and the manga was pretty good. And Mar was created by the exact same dude, and Mar or Mare or whatever you want to call it. This show basically was like Rave Master, but good. Like the thing about Rave Master is that it was kind of boring. It's like I remember watching like an episode or two when I was a kid, and then I tried to go and watch it like a couple months ago, and I was just bored as hell. It was just too generic for me. Versus Flames of Recca, where Flames of Recca, I'm a really big Yu Yu Hakusho fan, so I kind of like Flames of Recca like right away, and I could see the similarities like right away. But Rave Master, man, just felt kind of just like it was just like a boring version of Mare, pretty much. And it didn't really have that spice to it that it needed. That spice in the gumbo. It didn't have that spice to it that made you enjoy it. And it's weird because I enjoy Eden Zero and Fairy Tale, but I tried to watch Rave Master because I was really stuck on the creator of Fairy Tale for a while and like going and reading all his works. And it was like this one was just boring. And maybe it's because I watched the dub, but I really want to like it. I think what I need to do is read the manga or go back and watch the sub. But the English version was just boring and it was generic. And I think it was created by 4Kids, I think, because it kind of feels like a 4Kids dub. Um, but yeah, I just couldn't get into it. But um, Mayor, though, I remember that one being on TV for a while too. And like I said, a lot of these shows, I would just randomly see them at nighttime. And it was like you can never really finish any of the series because I swear Cartoon Network would have like 70 of them going on at one time. It's like so weird when I try to like go back and think about it. And there was always that one, what is it, Tenchi Moyo or whatever, or Moyo? That one was always on too. That is another example of an Adult Swim anime. Because y'all already know what I mean by Adult Swim anime. Adult Swim anime would be Cowboy Bebop, um, uh, Semi Champloo, and Space Dandy and Inuyasha. I call those Adult Swim anime because it's hella obvious that like these shows were really designed to specifically be on Adult Swim. That's how they feel. Especially Space Dandy. I believe the dub for Space Dandy was out quicker than the sub was. But they just feel like shows that were like designed to be on Adult Swim. Like every time I think of Adult Swim, I think of these shows. And that Tenchi show, same thing. That feels like an Adult Swim show. But Mar was one of those ones where it just kind of felt like a random anime that was just on Adult Swim. Like Adult Swim, I mean not Adult Swim on. I'm saying Adult Swim, but I mean Toonami in general. Because some of these shows before they were on actually on Adult Swim, you know, some of them were like on that like weird kind of Toonami Adult Swim mix. Because Toonami did this thing where when a Toonami first came out, it was like a kid station thing, and then it like got canceled, and they made a new Toonami with these two robots or whatever. Because it started out with the one robot dude. I can't remember his name. He's voiced by Stephen Bloom. What's his name? Um, he has like the most simple name, and I can't remember. But his Toonami got canceled. Then they brought the two robots in. Then that Toonami got canceled. Then they brought back Toonami again on Adult Swim. So yeah, it's just Toonami would leave and come back and leave and come back. But there was a time where it was like these shows would be on Adult Swim, but then after a while they put them on Toonami because the Toonami became an Adult Swim cartoon block on Saturdays or whatever, and they would show Semi Champloo and Cowboy Bebop and what is it? Michigo and Hodgkin was another one created by the same creator, and yeah, but Tenchi Moyo, I think is how you say it. That one was on Cartoon Network a lot, and I swear there was like 6 different versions of that show, and yeah. I would, you know what? I would say Dragon Ball Z is also a Toonami anime. Like they wanted you to know that like this is like one of the most popular anime. I wonder why Dragon Ball Z is so damn popular though. Like what made it become so popular? Because there was literally like 90 different anime shows that were on Cartoon Network, maybe even more than that. But for some reason, Dragon Ball Z just related to people the most for some reason. Like everybody was just obsessed with that one. Like a lot of those other anime shows that were on there, shows like Hacked, stuff like that. People don't even remember those shows. I remember that one because I remember waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning seeing that on TV, and Detective Conan. I remember seeing that on TV like one time. There were so many anime shows that would be on TV that I would see like once or twice and then never see it again for some reason. I think it was just because they changed the anime block so much. It'd be like one day you're seeing an episode of Dragon Ball Z on Adult Swim and it's like the original Dragon Ball Z, and then 2 days later you're seeing Dragon Ball Z Kai on there, and then 2 days later they're playing the old school Full Metal Alchemist. You know, not 2 days later, but like it would be like next Saturday or whatever they would play like an entirely different set of anime shows or whatever. Because Adult Swim was doing that for a while before they decided to have the new anime shows on there, like Dragon Ball Super, Demon Slayer, and all those shows. Before they did that, it was like they brought Toonami back and they were playing like all the old school stuff. Because I'm assuming they have the licensing for the old school Full Metal Alchemist and for Dragon Ball Z because they just randomly played those two like back to back. I remember being in my aunt's house and they played One Piece and Water 7, and it was Usopp fighting Luffy. Then they played that random episode of Dragon Ball Z where it was like Cell versus Goku. I mean, not Cell versus Goku, Cell versus Gohan. It was that final episode where they do the beam clash, and Gohan has one arm because he messed up his other arm because Cell shot was about to kill Vegeta, but then he, Gohan got in the way or whatever. It was that episode they were playing on. Toonami for some reason on Adult Swim, and then they played the first episode of Full Metal Alchemist on Adult Swim, and then they played Cowboy Bebop like right after that. But yeah, but just get back to like Mar. Like Mar was another one of those like anime shows that I remember seeing like once or twice, waking up in the middle of the night. There was just so many of those, bro. Like I said, Hacked was one of those I remember seeing. I remember being up at 3 o'clock in the morning one time and they showed like the 50s Astro Boy where it was like in black and white. And I was at my aunt's house. It was so weird because it was like the one time I was at I have two aunts with the same name, but I was at my other aunt's house this time. An aunt's house who I never really sleep at. I think slept at her house like twice. But I was like at her house, and I remember I was asleep, and I woke up, and Astro Boy was playing on the TV in the living room. It was so random, and it was the old school, not the '80s one. It was like the first episode of like the '50s one. It was so freaking random. But yeah, like I don't know. Adult Swim used to just be playing random stuff at nighttime, but it just be like out of nowhere. You just seeing like old school anime shows just randomly pop up. And I don't even think it was Saturday. I think it was like a weekday during the summertime or something. I don't know. I just remember seeing that and being like confused. But yeah, Flames of Recca though. Like I said, there's not really much to say about it. I mean, it's pretty much like Yu Yu Hakusho. It kind of follows the same story beats. I mean, it's like a boy. He's kind of a delinquent. He likes to fight and whatnot. I mean, it's like almost the same thing. Like it's not really anything original to talk about, but it's like it's a good show though. It's not bad by any means. I wouldn't consider it a bad show. And Mar was probably the most interesting one out of the three. Like Rave Master was the most boring one, but Mar was the most interesting one because the characters kind of low key look like Kingdom Hearts characters a little bit. Like if you threw them into the Kingdom Hearts universe or the Final Fantasy universe, they kind of look like characters that could be in those universes. I'm not gonna lie. One thing I was thinking about earlier too is they should make like a Super Smash Bros. Style game with all the anime characters that were just randomly on Cartoon Network. So like the main character from Mar, from Flames of Recca, is like all the random characters that were on there. Just call it Toonami Smash Bros. But yeah, bro. Those are just I don't really have anything deep to say about the shows because they're very simple shows. I mean, Mar is like a little boy. Is about a little boy with blonde hair, looks kind of like a Kingdom Hearts character. He basically gets dropped into a isekai world and basically just fights like any other shonen kind of show. It kind of gives me Zatch Bell. It's like it gives me Zatch Bell vibes and Kingdom Hearts vibes, but it also feels like a show that would come on after like Duel Masters or after Zatch Bell. It feels like kind of like one of those type of shows, and it probably did. That's a funny thing. Um, but it was another one of those anime shows where it didn't really get really big, but it's like some people remember it. Not everybody though. But Zatch Bell, like I said in the other video, Zatch Bell was one of the shows where people kind of remember it a little bit. Like black dudes remember it for some reason. It was one of those shows that kind of resonated with black people for some reason. Because I remember a couple of black kids like having the spell books and knowing the characters and stuff. And it was one of the ones I remember that used to come on. I was like 6 years old. Like Zatch Bell came on when I was like 5 or 6 because I remember like watching it when I was like young. I was like a little kid when Zatch Bell came on TV. I think Naruto was still on at that. No, Naruto came on like 3 years after that. Zatch Bell was on before Naruto, I think, when I was a kid. Because I remember being like 6 years old watching Dragon Ball Z and Zatch Bell, but I remember being like 9 or 10 watching Naruto. Yeah, I don't think Naruto came on until I was like 9. Something, because I remember being like 5th grade and people were talking about Naruto, and I remember watching Naruto, when I was in like 5th grade. But Zatch Bell, I remember that mess being on when I was in like 2nd or 3rd grade. I remember Zatch Bell being on TV, which is crazy because Naruto probably came up before it. But in America, I swear, bro, I kid you not, I watched Zatch Bell when I was like a little kid, and I remember watching Naruto when I was just a little bit older, like 2 years older. But yeah, and Sonic X, I remember watching when I was like 6 years old. Sonic X is old as hell because I remember watching that when I was like literally like 5 or 6, and I remember when the episodes were brand new. But then after a while, the Fox Box and the CW4 kids would just keep replaying Sonic X. It was like when I seen the season where it was like I think it was season 3 where it's like Sonic and his friends go back to their own planet, and then Chris is like a grown man or something. Oh, no, or he's like, I think he's like 18, but then he gets sent to their world and he becomes a kid again. And then it's like they're traveling around in the ship in space, kind of like Dragon Ball GT looking for the Chaos Emeralds. That season was so weird because it kind of felt like it was copying Dragon Ball Z. Like it like starts off with Sonic in the sky, he's supersonic. and then he just kind of he's fighting. I think his name was Black Oak or Dark Oak, and then it's like bro just is losing somehow, and then he like loses the Chaos Emeralds or send them around the universe, and he falls to the planet. And then I remember, because I remember being 6 years old watching this on TV in the little one bedroom apartment me and my mom had, and eating breakfast and watching it. And I remember it was like it was on a Saturday morning, and I remember um, I think it was like Eggman who saw Sonic running, and he's like, Sonic's running slower than usual, or something like that. That was like the first time I watched that the season three or whatever, because it was like brand new when I was like 6 years old. It was like the first time it ever aired on TV on the Fox box. Because this is back when it was the Fox box. And even then, Fox box is kind of new compared to Fox Kids. Fox Kids was when I was like 2 years old, bro. Oh God, I was like 2 or 3, bro. I don't even remember Fox Kids for real. The Fox box is the earliest memories I remember of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Sonic X, Wings Club, Viva Pinata, and stuff like I think Kirby Right Back at You was on there. I remember watching Kirby Right Back at You on Toon Disney though. Like I said, it was weird. Back in the day, they would take shows from like Kids WB and 4Kids. They would take shows from those two channels and put them on three different stations: Disney Channel, Toon Disney, and Cartoon Network. I swear. They would have the brand new episode air on Kids WB and the Fox box, but then they would put like the old episodes on like Cartoon Network and shit. Like Teen Titans was on Kids WB, Pokemon was on Kids WB, Recess was on Kids WB, Johnny Test was on Kids WB the first season, and then they moved, and Yu-Gi-Oh was on 4Kids, but then they end up moving, um, Johnny Test to Cartoon Network. They end up moving Recess to Toon Disney and a regular Disney at nighttime. Like it would come on like 2 o'clock in the morning on regular Disney, but it would come on during the day on Toon Disney. And then they moved Pokemon onto Cartoon Network, and then they moved what other show? Teen Titans to Cartoon Network. It was weird. They would have them like on both stations. And then I remember when the CW4Kids was the Vortex, and it was like the last. They had like they showed like the last like the like 4Kids. CW4Kids got canceled when I was like 15 years old, because I remember being 14, and I remember they were playing Dragon Ball Z Kai on there, and they were playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Back to the Sewers. I remember they were showing those two shows. And I remember when I turned like 15, they did not have that shit no more. Like I remember trying to look it up and see if it was on there, and it got canceled. And I remember being sad as hell. Like, there's no more Saturday morning cartoons, my nigga. Do you know how dark that shit was, bro? That mess made me sad, bro. Because Saturday morning cartoons was a thing since like the 70s. And then out of nowhere, now they just canceled it. There's no more Saturday morning cartoons, bro. And that used to be my shit. Cartoon Network used to do the same thing. They would have like new episodes of like this Transformer cartoon. I can't remember. It was like Transformers, the new animated series or something like that. But it was on Cartoon Network, and I remember watching it, and that was like one of my favorite shows. And Bakugan, and then they like canceled that, and I'm like, bruh, why y'all keep canceling these fire ass shows, bro? Bakugan actually was doing good. I'm gonna make a video on Bakugan. Bakugan was like my favorite show when I was around 13 to 14, bro. And I used to have like 5 or 6 Bakugans, bro. Like I miss Bakugan. Bakugan was so weird because it just randomly came out like in like the middle of like like this was like when Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh were like at their heights. Like everybody was playing that shit as a kid. Even if you were like, oh no, that's for little kids, because 13-year-olds used to swear up and down that they were adults, and they would bully you if you like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh. But me and my friends didn't really give a fuck. But this was like when it was at the height of Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon. Out of nowhere, Bakugan just popped up out of nowhere. And then it got super duper popular for like 3 years straight. Like every teenager was playing Bakugan, bro. It was so random. But yeah, when I was like 12 to about 14, that was like the biggest like card game out there. And the cartoon, like everybody watched it. But yeah. I was supposed to be talking about Rave Master and Flames of Recca and Marv. I started talking about all these other shows. Oh, that's just what's on my mind. I be having so much stuff on my mind, bro. This just be a vlog, but I'm always constantly thinking about the past when it comes to like anime shows and cartoons and stuff. Because as a kid, I was so into cartoons and anime, and I used to watch it all the time. And it was weird because somehow I was able to watch all these shows while also simultaneously going outside all the time and being outside all day, but I somehow also caught these shows to watch. It's weird. But like, comment, subscribe if you guys enjoy my channel. My channel is really just supposed to be a channel that you listen to when you're like at the gym or you're at work and you're bored as hell or when you're trying to go to sleep at night. So I hope you guys enjoy my little ramble or whatnot. I love you guys. Take care. Peace and blessings. Follow your dreams.